Hello, guys, and welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. And I just have to say, I am blown away by how many of you listen and tune in every single week. We literally have listeners, I think it's from like 92 different countries around the world, which blows my mind. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of you because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And I'm just glad to hear that so many people are being impacted by the podcast and that you are finding these episodes helpful for you on your business building journey. So just wanted to say a little thank you for being here, and I wish I could get to give each and every one of you a little hug, but I'm grateful that you're here. I'm glad that you are continually investing in yourself and learning more about yourself, learning about more about how you can show up best in your business. Because I just want to see as many business owners as possible win in business and in life. And really, by win, I mean fulfill their deepest desires, build a life that lights them on fire, become the version of themselves that they know they have the potential to be. Because we all know we have potential to be a version of ourselves that is just is a little bit more developed than where we're at now. Maybe they're more confident. Maybe they are living a different life. Maybe they are um, more free. They have more financial independence. They are more grounded. They're calmer. They are more joyful. They are more outgoing. Whatever it is for you, it's different for everyone. But we all have that version that we're wanting to step into. And I'm so glad that each and every one of you are committed to doing the work to actually move closer to that version of yourself and move closer to that version of the business that you're wanting to build. But I'm going off topic here. So let's go back to what we're going to be talking about today, which is, have you ever said to yourself or said to someone else, I'm just doing my best. And if that's not good enough, I don't know what is. And that is a very dangerous statement to say in business. If anyone ever says to me, I'm doing my best, I'm just not seeing results, or I'm just doing my best, it is what it is, I see that as a red flag, like a big red flag. Because doing your best in business, when you say, I'm doing my best, it's actually keeping you small. And I know some of you are going to be like, what the heck? This doesn't make any sense. But that's what we're going to be talking about today, because I really want to challenge you. Even if you're like, no, I don't, Robin, this doesn't make sense. Doing your best is really good. Like saying that you're doing your best and telling yourself you're doing your best and aiming to do your best is what you should be doing. And if your best isn't enough to get you results, it is what it is. At least you tried. And I understand where you're coming from with that, but I really want to challenge you a little bit on that today, because that conventional wisdom of like always doing your best has its downsides, and it does keep you small, whether you like to hear it or not. And I've seen it in my own life as well, because doing your best isn't actually always the thing that you need to be doing to see results, especially in business. And there's a lot of importance around actually doing what's required, and doing your best versus doing what's required looks very different often. And so people can say, oh, I'm doing my best. They're actually not doing any of the required tasks, or they're half-heartedly doing the required tasks. But in their mind, they're telling themselves, I'm putting in the work. I'm doing everything I could have to potentially become that version of myself I want to be, or to build the business I'm wanting to build. They're not doing what's required. And when we tell ourselves that we're doing our best, to most people, let's just look at when we define doing our best. For most people, that means you're putting in the maximum effort, time, and energy that you're capable of at this season of life and business. For everyone, that best effort is going to look different. For some people, it means many, many hours a day. For some people, it means 30 minutes a day, whatever it is for you. But typically, it means putting in the maximum amount of effort, time, and energy into a task that you believe you need to be doing. And I think we've grown up in a world where even a lot of motivational speakers will talk about how you have to do your best to succeed and all of that. And in school, our teachers always tell us to try your best and, I totally get it. Like there is an element of like, yeah, that's great. Do your best. You do want to know like you've done your best. And I think even on this podcast at some point, I've talked about how I just wanted to know that I did my best at certain things so that if it failed, I knew at least I tried. And the reality is though, is doing your best isn't necessarily going to get you where you want to be. So, for example, let's take a business owner who is a brand new business owner, for example, who gives themselves a year to build their jewelry business. And they say, I'm just going to try my best. I'm going to do everything I feel like I need to do in the next year. I'm going to just try my best. I'm going to put all my time and energy and efforts into this, and I'm going to grow this business. And if it fails, it fails, whatever. But I'm going to try my best. And they spend like 8 hours a day working every day for a year. And it's funny, there's actually a client that I'm basing this on who worked insane hours before she started working with me. Like insane hours. I think it was like closer to like 12 hours a day. She was busy. She was doing her best every single day, and her business never really took off. Like it had an element of like, yeah, it was driving sales, it was doing okay, but like she was hitting burnout. The business wasn't really building the momentum it should have been. And I would say she was a great example of pouring her heart and soul into everything she did and putting the time in, putting the energy in, putting the effort in, doing her very, very best, like putting 100% of herself into it. But she didn't actually get the results she was working towards. She got way lower sales than you would anticipate for someone spending that much time on their business. And she did hit burnout, and she did get frustrated, and she did build resentment to her business. And it did impact her confidence in herself, being like, wow, maybe I'm just not cut out for business. Maybe I'm on the wrong path. Maybe I'm never really going to make this work and make this sustainable. And here's the thing, when we looked at like the tasks she was doing, there were a lot of busy bee tasks. I kind of refer to like the fluffy tasks as busy bee tasks, which are tasks that will keep you very busy. Now, you have to be careful in a jewelry business because there's a lot of those tasks. Like, there's a lot of things you could be doing. When you break down like the essential key things you need to do to grow your business, those are often the most vulnerable and the most scary and uncomfortable. For example, social media, like actually embracing being the face, showing up in a way that you're actually connecting with people, driving visibility, driving connection, sending emails, getting yourself into wholesale accounts. It's very vulnerable and it requires very specific steps to do that. And a lot of people will keep themselves busy with other things, organizing their office, creating more and more and more designs. So they have lots of things for people to buy. That is a huge thing. When I see somebody who's always designing and they're not making much sales, that's just, you're keeping yourself busy so you can say, I tried my best, but you're not doing what you need to do to get more eyes on your business. You're not doing what you need to do to drive that connection and drive that conversion and ultimately lead to customers pulling out their credit card and purchasing from you, which is what we want. And so this is where this client was. And when I looked at like, well, what are you actually doing on a day-to-day basis? Like, where is this time being spent? I was like, immediately, as soon as she shared what she was doing, I was like, well, this makes so much sense because what you've been doing is doing your best. You haven't actually been doing the key tasks you need to be doing. And the couple of key tasks you sort of need to be doing, but you've been doing half, like not in the most effective way possible. So, she had been reaching out to stores. She had been doing some of these things, but it wasn't done in the most effective way possible. So it was like kind of wasting her time anyway. And it made so much sense. And it was like one of those things where she's like, wow, I spent a whole year pouring myself into this business, doing my best. And she actually could have been working a quarter of the hours. And we did end up cutting her hours down drastically and just being like, cut all the fluff, forget about all of this, and let's just focus on these key things. Let's just do these. And that's kind of when things started shifting for her, not only in terms of sales and growth in her business, but also in terms of how she felt in her business, how she felt with her family, how she felt in her relationship and all of that. So this has a huge impact on so many areas of your life. It's not something to kind of skim over. And the reality of success in business is that your results matter more than the effort that is put in. So, what I mean when I say that is that efficiency and effectiveness is way more important than perfection in business. And it also means that, we don't need to necessarily do everything perfectly in business to see results, but we need to do it as effectively as possible. And we need to do the key things that are actually required to get you to where you're wanting to be in your business. For example, if you're wanting to drive $10,000 of sales online a month, every month, well, what do you need to do that? You need to be showing up on social media multiple times a day, which I know some people are going to hate me for saying that, but again, that should be a 5 to 7 minute task. It shouldn't be taking you 3 hours a day to do a post. You need to be sending out emails. You need to be focusing on building your email list. You need to have some kind of incentive to get people onto your email list so you have people to send those emails to. You need to be sending out very frequent emails. You need to have very clear call to actions. You have to optimize your website to drive the customer to actually make a purchase. You have to have a collection that is cohesive and has options for people, but also doesn't overwhelm them. You have to have price points that are optimized for your customer base. And you have to make sure the value of your pieces has been conveyed clearly in your content, in your marketing, on your website, so that people feel really excited at the price point that your pieces are at. And there's so many things that you need to do. What you don't need to do is just try your best. That doesn't really play into success in business. You just have to do what's required. It's pretty simple. And so often, when we look at business and what you need to do, especially in jewelry businesses, there's a million tasks you could be doing. I mean, if you Google how to grow my jewelry business on Google, I'm sure it's going to give you a million different things you could be doing. And I'll actually do an episode on that because there are a million different things you could be doing potentially. But we need to look at well, what are your goals? What are you optimizing for in life and from your business? What do you want to get out of your business? And from that, we get clear on your goals and what we're looking for. And then we look at well, what are the 20% of tasks that are going to drive 80% of revenue? Because that's the reality. In businesses, it's called the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule, which essentially means that 20% of the tasks that you work on in your business bring in 80% of results. And we only really want to hone in on those 20%. We want to double down on those 20% of tasks and forget the rest. I know. So it's actually pretty simple. And it's going to be way more beneficial, I don't want to say perfecting, but really honing in on those, doing them effectively, consistently, strategically, intentionally, than trying to do all the things at a half-hearted level. And I've seen clients, one that's coming to mind is a client who was in business over a decade, was making multiple six figures, and she came to me and she was working nonstop around the clock. She was busy. She was doing her best, a perfect example of someone doing their best. And when we started working together, she was wanting to scale, but she was kind of well, if I scale, I'm going to be even busy and I just don't have time. How's this going to work? And she had a team and stuff. But the reality is she was a little worried about it. And she was worried about adding to her plate. And you know what we actually did? We actually just cut. We just cut things from her strategy that she was doing. We did a lot of cutting and then some refining of key components of her strategy. And within 60 days, she had driven 30% more revenue than any other 90-day period in her business. And that is the power of being really intentional with what you're doing. And not only that, she worked way less. She went on vacation. She had more space in her day. And we cut all those fluffy tasks and we just focused on those 20% of game changer tasks in her business and did those as effectively as possible. And that shifted everything. So, we want to always be aware of well, what are the 20% of tasks I need to be doing? And then how do I go and get the skills to do those most effectively? Because that is going to get you your results. You don't need to do your best. And that's a massive misconception. Now, when you say to yourself, like, I always want to be doing my best in business, like, fine, but that actually puts a lot of pressure on yourself as well. And that can lead to burnout. It can lead to that sense of always feeling stressed. And it is going to decrease your productivity, believe it or not. Because we then fall into that trap of like being perfect. Because if we're saying, I want to do my best, well, we kind of put these expectations on ourselves of this is what it looks like to do my best. I have to be busy all the time. I have to put a lot of time and energy and effort in. And that pursuit of perfection, that pursuit of being your best, of showing up in the best way, of doing your best, can be paralyzing over time, and it can actually prevent progress, and it can lead to you missing opportunities. It can lead to stagnation in your business, even though it feels counterintuitive. And it can also cause massive time management issues because spending excessive time on tasks, trying to get them to like the highest level you can do so you've done your best, is going to take away from the key things you actually need to be doing and how to do those effectively. That's just the reality of it. So we really want to shift our mindset from doing our best to doing what's required, which is a whole lot more boring. I know. It doesn't quite have the same swing of like, go do your best out there. It doesn't sound as motivational when I say, just do what's required. And I kind of love that about it because it's like, you know what? You don't actually have to be your best all the time. You just have to do what's required. And it's actually going to allow you to relax into your business. I remind myself of this all the time and it relaxes me into my business. I can be having a bad day. I can be emotional. I can be just not feeling great. And I know it's fine. It's not going to impact my business because I don't need to do my best every day to see results. I just have to do what's required. And for your business, you need to determine what that is. And you need to identify what's truly required for you to be successful in your specific business. Now, again, that you want to start right at the beginning of like, what was your why for building this business? Is it because you want more time with your family? Is it because you want financial independence? Like, what are your whys for starting your business? And then do those whys align with the goals you've set for your business? And are your goals very specific? Are they measurable? Can we actually like tangibly measure them? And then have we broken those big annual goals down into quarterly goals and monthly goals and got clear on what are the steps we need to do to actually move ourselves closer to those goals? And this is one of the first things I do with all of my clients who come into the Jewelry Business Academy, because I can't tell you how many people just dive into building a business without getting clarity over why they're doing it, what they're wanting from it. And then they end up 5 years down the line with a multiple six-figure company and they're miserable because they actually didn't optimize for time, or they didn't optimize for high margins or whatever it is. So you want to make sure that you've got clear on that, and then get clear on like, well, what needs to be done to move my business to this place, because it's not that complicated. Building a business on one level is really simple. It's just an accumulation of thousands and thousands of teeny tiny, very doable steps. But it's knowing what are those steps for you and what are those steps for your business and what does that look like and how do I do that effectively? And then how do I prioritize when we've looked at all these tasks that need to be done? How do we prioritize which ones get done first and what's the order and what's the consistency and how, like, what does that look like? For example, emails. How many emails do I need to be sending a week? What does that look like? How many events do I need to be doing? How many stores do I need to be reaching out to? How many no's do I need to be collecting to get the yeses that are going to essentially fulfill like my wholesale sales goals? And so you want to get clear on like, what are the priorities? Prioritize your tasks in terms of what needs to be done first, what's urgent, what's important. And then you want to actually make sure you show up and do it. And that's where people get caught up. The implementation is where people get stuck, because we live in a world where there's an abundance of free information. I mean, you guys are living in a world where you can Google pretty much everything. You can research. There's an abundance of strategies out there. There's an abundance of information. We do not lack information. We have an abundance of overeducated, underachieving jewelry business owners in this world right now. And it's because they're into learning, they're into being educated, they're listening to all the podcasts, they're doing free trainings, they're even paying for some trainings maybe, but they're not implementing. And that's one of the things that I noticed was like a big gap, whereas like, hey, we are going to focus our program 100% on the implementation, because that's where people are falling off. That's where people are not seeing results, because you can learn all the things you want, but if you're not implementing them, it doesn't make a difference. And when you're dealing with, like, most of my clients have ADHD, whether they know it or not, on different levels. And so when you're working with clients with ADHD, it's even harder for people to implement. And it's like, well, how do we structure this in a way that makes it easy, doable, sustainable? And what does that look like? And so we have multiple levels of accountability. We have tracking spreadsheets. We break things down into like teeny tiny doable steps. We break it into bite-sized portions of training so that they can actually go through, take it in, and then implement again. And we have our 90-day blueprint, which actually walks them through, like, here's what you need to do every day. You don't even have to think about it. Here's your revenue driving task. Here's the key things you need to do. Here's how to do it effectively. Here's how many emails we're sending. Here's how many reach outs we're doing to wholesale accounts. Like, it is broken down. You can't really mess up. And the reality is, like, they don't need to do their best. My clients don't need to do their best to see results. All they need to do is do what's required. I never, ever, ever, ever ask my clients, are you doing your best? Are you showing up in the best way possible? Because I don't care if they're not doing their best. They don't need to. They just need to show up and actually just do those key things consistently. They just have to do what's required. And that's going to get them results. And that does get clients results. And so I hope that actually allows you to relax into your business a little bit, recognize, like, oh my gosh, I don't have to be pouring my time and energy so excessively into everything all the time to do well. I can relax a little bit. I can be a normal human being who feels all the feels. I can have off days. I can have low energy days. And all I need to do is just do these key things and know what I'm doing, do them consistently, do them intentionally, do them strategically, spend probably less time than you're working on your business right now doing those tasks. And that is going to lead you to the end result that you're working towards. It's actually a really freeing thing. So I hope this is going to help any of you who have been on the do my best roller coaster for a while. I hope you're allowing yourself now to step off that and just allow yourself to be human, allow yourself to relax into your business, and just get clear on, what do I actually need to do? Like, what's required? Let's just do that. And I like, work smart. Work smarter, not harder. Just do the key things you need to do, cut the fluff, and that is going to get you way more results, and it's going to give you more time and more energy in your business as well. So it's a much more fun approach, I find, even though on one level it's a little bit more boring as well, but boring is good. Okay, let me know if any of you guys enjoyed this. If you resonated with any parts of this, I'd love to hear from you. You can tag me on Instagram. It's Robin Clark Coaching. And if you want to come and join us in the Jewelry Business Academy, if you are done thinking and planning and brainstorming on your own, and you just want to be given a blueprint that we give you, and we're like, here's what you're going to do, here's how to do it, just go and do it. And we're going to hold you accountable, and you're going to come to group calls with me every single week. We're going to dive into any blocks or challenges that come up, but essentially just making sure you're doing what's required to actually hit your goals and move yourself closer to your goals over the next 90 days. Then come and join me in the Jewelry Business Academy. It is jewelrybusinessacademy.ca. You can go there, learn a little bit more about the program, and book in your free call with one of our elite coaches. And let's change the game for your business over this summer. Let's make this the day that you decided to actually just quit doing your best and just do what's required, and actually go and be in a very different place 90 days from today. So if that's exciting for you, go ahead and book in your call, and I will see you on the other side. Look forward to chatting to you guys soon, and have a lovely rest of your day.